Okay, so this is the next buying point for Bitcoin, and I'm going to lay down the foundation of what you need to be aware of before we actually get to this buying point. And if some of you decide to actually buy now, it might be a little bit of a tricky one. But I'm going to lay down the foundation just so you guys are aware of what could happen from now until the point that we need to see Bitcoin get to. There are a number of things that can unfold because everyone wants to know, when is Bitcoin going to go back up? Do I think now is a good time to buy Bitcoin? It all depends on your risk preference. So what's good, ladies and gentlemen? Good evening, good afternoon. Well. Ain't nothing happening in Bitcoin, to be fair, but NASDAQ takes a nice smackaroo to the downside. But it was very, very trying to trading NASDAQ today. Didn't like it, missed out. Had a little short, but didn't even make anything that was worth even demonstrating about the hybrid. But nonetheless, missed out on another good short, but never mind. I just didn't like the way NAS was moving. And then Trump decides to talk again. What do you need to say, bro? Like, you're done. The game's over now. Like, you've done your tariffs. Chill out. Speak to your people. Don't speak to us. We don't want to know now. Just do your own thing. Anyways. So I'm going to break it down for you this evening. Now, some of you might not like what I have to say. Some of you might like what I have to say. And if you don't like what I have to say, trading isn't for you. Because you're going in with the moon boy eyes. You know? You don't really want to do that. You want to put logic to what you want to understand. Because ultimately, you're putting down your own money. Don't listen to me. I'm just going to lay down some facts that are coming into play. What you do with those facts is on you. If you're a little bit risk averse and you're like, yeah, baby, I'm going to go for it all in now, then okay. Just remember what I'm about to say. You've got to factor that in. And it's just following up from this morning. So if you are new, welcome to Traders Reality. My name is Tino. Let's have a conversation, gang. Meltdown. It's the worst that the S&P has fared for such a long time. So sad. 4 years, look for 5 years, man. That is shocking. About $2 trillion has been erased from the S&P. That's quite a bit of mullah. You know? A couple of weeks ago, it was 5 trillion. Now, 2 trillion. It's not looking good. Fundamental point 1, which I'm going to explain right now. In front of you is the NASDAQ chart. This is reason number 1 for not buying. Reason number 1, right? In front of you is the NASDAQ Composite Index. Down below, we pay attention to the volume bars when it comes to the NASDAQ. And I'm going to just take the screenshot and show you what I'm talking about. Down below, we've got these pink bars, which are volume. And this gives us the idea of institutional investors accumulating or distributing, right? Pink bar means distribution, selling. Blue bar means accumulation, buying, by institutional investors, right? When you start to see a buildup of distribution bars, you then start to think, okay, things aren't looking good, because it then suggests that investors are selling, or hedge fund managers and what have you. They're getting rid of stock, right? What we've got right now is starting from the 14th of February, because this high was made on the 14th of February to 20,110 was the top side of the composite, and it started to drop from there, okay? Now, we have had 1, sort of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 distribution days on the NASDAQ. Now, why is this important? Because what we really need to see is we need to see accumulation to suggest the idea of buying. Now, some of you might be buying now because when they're selling, others are buying, right? You got to try and get that in your mind about when smart money is buying, they buy when prices are dropping. That's what they do, okay? What do we need to see happening? We need to see blue bars over the 50-day average, which is this red line, right? And when you see these blue bars appearing above that, you can then start to suggest that there's a potential for a market rally. Now, when we look at price action, you can see that we had, where was it? 1 and 2 days where there was accumulation. Those 2 days were met here with that gap right there. And then you had this one over here. But it's happening as prices are going down. There's more distribution days than there is accumulation days. So the rule that we need to be keeping in our minds is this. Before you buy Bitcoin, right? Make sure you're paying attention to the accumulation days on the NASDAQ, right? When you start seeing 3 bars back to back on volume above average, the 4th bar would effectively confirm a rally. And that will be a follow through to then send prices higher. You then take price action and you correlate it to the idea of any moving averages or any market structure that you might have. Happy days. Okay? Until we get those bars, or until we get accumulation happening on the NASDAQ and the S&P, logic says you might need to wait before you start buying Bitcoin. Next logic. The carry trade principle, which we spoke about this morning. This is why you shouldn't buy Bitcoin just yet. The Japanese yen is climbing up. And when the yen moves up so aggressively, it forces the dollar dominance to go down. And it also ends up sending euro up. And then it also makes investors go over to the bonds market. Why? Because behind the idea of the carry trade principle says that investors that borrowed free money, which is the Japanese yen, converted that to dollars, and then dollars were then used to buy stocks and Bitcoin or any other risk-on assets, right? Well, if the Japanese yen are going to be increasing their interest rates coming into May because of these tariffs, that means people are going to have to get rid of their risk, which we've established right now with the stock market losing $2 trillion, convert it back into their dollars, to then get those dollars converted back into yen, which in principle then increases the value of the Japanese yen. It then also gives interest to the Japanese bond market because investors know that they're going to be increasing the interest rates in the future, which when a country increases its interest rates, it encourages foreign investors to come in and get involved. That's why Warren Buffett's buying stock in Japan. So the interest rate increase is due, pending, in May time. That's next month. On top of that, ladies and gentlemen, the third reason why you shouldn't buy Bitcoin just yet. Going into the bets on the Federal Reserve as to whether or not they're going to increase cut the interest rates, word on the street has said that Morgan Stanley believes that the Fed isn't going to cut the rates this year. This year. So we know that the dollar's yield is still going to be high. Okay? Hold on a second. What do you mean it's still going to be high? Like, they're not going to cut the rates. Well, look at your data. Unemployment claims came in today at 219,000. You got a robust labor market, ladies and gentlemen. Happy days. ISM Services PMI came in at 50.8. It was expected at 53. So there's a contraction in the economy, but it's still above 50. So it still implies expansion. The reading goes on to say that a level diffusion index based on surveyed purchasing managers excluding the manufacturing industry, okay? Above 50 indicates industry expansion. Below indicates contraction, all right? So these purchasing managers tell the Institute of Supply Management where their heads are at with the economy, inflation, purchasing orders, employment, all of that. And they're saying that it seems to be relatively decent. But you look at the data, you can see it's doing fine. Since November the 5th, 2024, we haven't gone below 50. We haven't gone below 50. That's why the Federal Reserve is reluctant to cut the rates, because the economy can sustain itself. Unfortunately, in yesterday's data, when we got the actual manufacturing prices, 69.4, Well, if they're increasing the prices, that means there's going to be a bit of a problem with the next reading on inflation. Now we go into tomorrow and we understand the average hourly earnings and the non-farm payrolls, and then, of course, the unemployment rate. If the unemployment rate goes down to 4% and it doesn't come in at 4.1 and it goes lower and it comes down, the Fed's got a massive problem. If average hourly earnings come in at 0.3%, then that's okay. But if the actual non-farm employment change comes in higher than what they're projecting, because it's saying that they want 137,000, well, we're getting a little bit of a mixed read right now. There's been less jobs available in the job openings, but the ADP showed 155,000 jobs being offered. Unemployment claims came in today at 219,000, which justifies the reason as to why people might still be in work, and it solidifies the idea that the labor market is all good. Why would they be expecting non-farm to be less? So you've got that story with the Federal Reserve. If the Fed doesn't cut the interest rates, that means liquidity isn't going to be as accessible to the marketplace. Why would you be buying Bitcoin? Okay. Now we're going to go and have a look at Bitcoin from a price action perspective. In front of you is Bitcoin on the 1 hour. We want to pay attention to the daily. So the daily time frame shows us the following range, right? I'd like you to all mark it off for yourselves so you understand where I'm going with this. This green vector candle right here. This is a very important point for Bitcoin. In a single day, Bitcoin shot up, right? From, cleared nearly a 10% move to the upside. It would be safe to say that there was a huge amount of accumulation that was happening in that range, okay? They've come down to recover these previous vector candles. What's wrong with another? So from a structural point of view, some of you might be looking at this thinking it's the Elliott wave, it's this, it's that. We can simplify it and pay attention to the cycles. W formation, rise up level 1, retrace, rise level 2, retrace, rise level 3, peak formation, drop level 1, drop level 2, drop level 3, peak formation. This is a weekly cycle. It can be a monthly cycle. It can be a yearly cycle. Fundamentally, it's a cycle, a psychological cycle, which pretty much tells us where is accumulation, where is distribution, where is redistribution, reaccumulation, all of those fun and games. When we look at this structure right now, where are we? We are right now here. That's where we are. Because you look at Bitcoin, it's sort of forming that same structure, okay? That's the logic. So if I remove this, we've effectively got ourselves a level. What's a level? A level is when price hits a high, hits a low, and then consolidates. They're going to be buying Bitcoin, okay? They're going to do all of the buying inside of this range. But how long do we know their buying or their accumulation phases are going to last for? How long? Now, Bitcoin would have to break out above the 88,567 to validate the idea that it's going to break away from this point, right? Now, what you've got to say to yourself is this. Should I buy at this point? Logic says, like, how many of you would you be buying? Listen, it's not that you should, why should you believe in Morgan Stanley bankers? It's because people do believe what they say because their money's tied up with them. So if Morgan Stanley says that, then they're going to get a phone call from the clients and be like, hey, man, you said this. And they were like, yeah. Well, I better get rid of my stock, man. I need to start moving money. And Morgan Stanley's like, yeah, no problem. Cha-ching. Thank you very much. We'll charge you for doing that. Cha-ching. We'll move your money and put it there. Thank you very much. They don't care about what's going on in the economy. What they care about is how long they can keep clients' money retained for and how much they can earn from it. What do you think your Bitcoin ETF is? All of a sudden, the same dude that was slating Bitcoin is out there as the spokesperson for it, Larry Fink. They earn bags of revenue off that ETF. Doesn't matter if price is going up or down. They just need you to buy it. The level itself here says that if we are at this point, logic says that we could be getting ready to go into this point, which would be the second level. Okay? That logically means that Bitcoin will break this point, come back up, test, and then work itself to another accumulation. So that means this is level 1. This logic says it's level 2. Okay? Let's just add a little bit more. Factor in a moving average. Factor in the remaining vector candles that have been left behind before the last accumulation. Okay? So you've effectively got yourself 2 zones in Bitcoin right now that if you do decide to buy Bitcoin, you do run the potential risk based on the factors that I've given you from the start of this live stream. Okay? Remember, if you don't see accumulation in the NASDAQ and the S&P, what reasons do you have to buy Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin is following the S&P and the NASDAQ. It fundamentally is. All right? And the reason why it's going down so aggressively is because there's more money to be taken out of it, right? There's not that much money in Bitcoin. And a lot of the reason why Bitcoin ain't really moving is because it's smaller market cap and people are holding on to dear life. It's only until the actual dudes that want to buy the Bitcoin where prices will effectively go towards those bids and force the retail traders out where everyone's going to step in and buy it up and you're going to be the person that sells it, right? This is your range that you're working with, and this, in my opinion, is the buying point for Bitcoin. You want a price projection or you want a buying point based on the factors I've given you. If we don't have accumulation in the NASDAQ or the S&P, you don't buy it. Let's make the assumption that you do. So you got that. Let's make the assumption that the Japanese yen, they do increase their interest rates. The stock market slumps from there. Bitcoin pulls back. It achieves price in and around these ranges, recovers the vector candle, okay? Say in May, Bitcoin does end up towards this point at 69,000, maybe beforehand. You've just now factored in another reason as to why you needed to wait, okay? And then you've got the Federal Reserve in their meeting in 36 days' time. They turn around and say, we are going to cut the interest rates, then happy days. That'll be another time for you to buy Bitcoin, right? But if you can factor all of those instances, because of the first factor of the NASDAQ, we don't have it. The second factor of the Japanese yen, more than likely going to come into play. And the third point being the Federal Reserve, it's skewed to the idea that they are going to cut the rates because the economy is starting to show a little weakness, but the labor market is keeping them on their toes and making them be less reluctant or more reluctant to actually cut because the labor market is strong. In my opinion, a safer time to buy Bitcoin would be once it sweeps this area here at 75. Once it attacks this area, you're looking for a nice V-shaped reversal. You've pretty much got these price points to take into consideration, okay? Mad love and respect, my bro. 76,693. Wild buckshot. 61,196. Validation of a confirmed move to the upside would be a break of 88,875. That's my logic, ladies and gentlemen. As I said before, they're accumulating in the ETF, but they're also shorting Bitcoin at the same time. So they're picking up Bitcoin on the cheap with a projected value in the future of it being more. And whilst they're shorting the Bitcoin, they're earning money at the same time. So you've got instant gratification with the short, and then you've got a future expectation of Bitcoin increasing in price over time. And when you're buying it in terms of the ETF, this balance hasn't gone down. Even when the market took a stab, look, like, let's just update this right now. It hasn't gone down. They're buying. It's simple as that. They're buying the Bitcoin. And someone said earlier on, is Bitcoin starting to become the true hedge against inflation because it's not moving? Problem is, Bitcoin's last to move. Okay? And that's something you've got to take into consideration. Mark those price points off. Because each time price will work towards that, you can then ask yourself, how long is it going to be until it gets to this point? What if tomorrow Bitcoin comes into action and it just takes a slump to the downside and hits the 76,693? Don't tell me it can't. I think that is absolute BS. that Bitcoin can't hit a price point, especially when it's so close. And anyone that says that it can't hit that point, give me a reason to believe why not. Because of the glass node and the rainbows and the dews, the whales are accumulating, and 2,475 days ago, Bitcoin did this same pattern and it's doing the same thing. Shut up, man. There's so much. People right now being tested to hold on to their Bitcoin. That's why this balance is going up, because the people that are involved in it, it isn't retail. It's the big boys. Everyone's asking the question, why is it going up if everything's going down? Because they're shorting it and earning money off it. And they're buying it at the same time. You're killing two birds with one stone. And when they're done shorting it, that's when we'll start seeing the benefit of Bitcoin going up. Capiche? Do you believe in the go away in May thing? Any investment in June, July dips are usually right. They are, pretty much. Look how brain dead this chat is. Guys were gifted subs and nobody says thank you. Yeah, man. Can you show some love, please? Guy was giving out gifts. Some of you did say thank you, but yeah. Happy days. Mad love for that, my bro. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Government wants Bitcoin cheaper. Now, listen, do you know how many times I've heard that they want it cheaper? They want it cheaper. I've even said it myself. But when you think about things, they don't care. If you're going to be buying $50 million worth of Bitcoin, do you give a damn about the price? No, you don't. First things first, you've got to factor in your duration of trade. All right? How long do you plan on being in the trade for? All right, here's an example. Look at this. In front of you. We got quite a few dudes that are ready to come. What was that? Did I see that? I thought I saw 90 million there. Hold on. I need to make sure. No. Tell me I saw that. 13, 1. No, wait. All right, here are the bid side orders, all right? Nothing interesting. I mean, 81,000 got 3.6. Right. Mark these levels off, all right? Mark them off on your charts, because this is where supposedly if these bids stay in the chart, because this bid right here was only placed 2 hours ago, okay? Let's make the assumption that all of these bids hold, right? 8.25 million Bitcoin order at 81,188. Another 8.24 million, 81,100. Another 8 million at 81,099. Go down again. We've got 9 million at 81,000. Go down again. We've got another 8.21 million at 80,999. Roll over again. 8.14 at 80,889. Going down at 80,800, you've got 24 million. 80,700, you've got 9.7 million. And then 80,500, you've got 6 million. And 8.03 million at 80,305. 14 million at 80,000. And that's it. I think that 8 million is an iceberg. That 8 million is an iceberg order. For any of you that don't know what an iceberg order is, just look at it like this. Here is an iceberg. Let's split this iceberg up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here we go. 8 million, 8 million, 8 million, 8 million, 8 million. That's your iceberg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. That's your iceberg. Okay? That's what's going on in the order book. looking at the actual liquidations, 81,000. That's obviously been taken today, has it not? 220. The $200 savior. So that effectively means there's $1.04 billion worth of liquidations at that point. This is for Binance. So now we go back into the logic of conversation. Would you now, how many of you would be comfortable buying Bitcoin at this point? That's the question. Where are we at with the live? 25 minutes. How many of you would be comfortable buying at this point? If the Fed cuts interest rates by 50 basis points like he said it did last summer, that would be crazy. Is there a possibility this could happen? Well, they're projecting a rate of 3.9% with a 50 basis point cut. But in the mix of all of that, they turned around and said, we're going to wait and see because we're waiting for the data. So it gave the market something and pulled it straight back. Like, look, the expectations are right here. 79% of people are rate swap traders are betting that the Fed's going to keep the rates on hold. Your data's too good. US economy is great. That's what that's saying. Bought 60% capacity. Tino, sir, don't call me sir, my bro. Do you look at 10-year bond yields and its correlation to dipping and giving investors signal to go risk on? How many of you are new? Because I talk a lot about the bonds. Probably one of the only channels that talks about bonds and the carry trade. If there's anyone else, please let me know and show love to them as well. Because I feel like if you're not talking about the bonds, if you're not talking about the yen, if you're not talking about the rate swaps and understanding why Forex, why is that important? Because you're not buying Bitcoin with nothing. You're buying it with dollar. Principle says that Bitcoin should be up because your dollar dominance has taken a significant shoe bag to the downside. By the principle of dollar dominance, when you exchange dollars for Bitcoin, Bitcoin goes up, dollar goes down. But what's the problem? The problem is the guys that are selling their dollars or assets, okay, they're putting it into safer havens. They're not seeking risk, which explains why your yen is up. Which explains why your best mate, gold, is up. They're shit scared. But another thing is up. We're getting close, baby. We are getting close. When it hits 30, ladies and gentlemen, that's when your trigger finger should be very, very ready. I've been saying it for a little while now. I'm waiting for the vector candle recovery to come into play. And they are working that zone, getting ready to work that zone as we speak. These are your buying zones. The higher this goes, all right, split your investment, all right, and buying Bitcoin by the 20-20-20-40 principle. Some of you know it, some of you don't, okay? But the 20-20-20-40 principle says the following, all right? Just going to give you a little breakdown of it. You've got 10K, right? And that 10K, you're going to split it up. You're going to get 20%, 20%, 20%, right? That's 60% of working capital. This is where you invest. You invest this 20%, hypothetically, if you're going to base it off the volatility index, you would say to yourself, I'm going to buy Bitcoin 20% at this point. Yeah? Then 20% at this point, and then 20% hypothetically at this point. So the logic says that as this is going up, Bitcoin's price is going down, you're buying. It peaks out. They factored in the risk. They've hedged themselves. And then the volatility index starts to come back down again. Okay? That's when Bitcoin starts to go back up. That's when the marketplace goes back up, right? That's the 20-20-20-40 method. The 40 is effectively, if you can catch it and you've caught the top of the VIX, You're buying at that point, and you put the 40% of your capital down. But the second you start making a good return on that 40, close it off and put it back as cash. You've now got yourself a more valuable 40%. So then you look for the next event when Bitcoin takes a big bloody hell, I got choked. When Bitcoin takes a big drop to the downside, you can then buy in again. It reverses in your favor, and then you'd close it off, and now you're increasing the value of that 40%. Okay? Split your purchases. Don't go all in, moon boy shot and shit, all right? And 575,000x leverage, and you're using 5 cents, and you're making $25,000 off that leverage. You get the joke, all right? Be realistic. Have realistic expectations. Plan your trade. Plan the purchase. Macroeconomically speaking, everything's going to the pan. We're just waiting for that confirmation to come in by the principle of the VIX. We're waiting for that. And the 30 zone is the zone that will give you a clue that it's going to start turning. Everything will crash. It hits 30 and everything will come back up when the VIX goes down because they've hedged themselves. Is this the everything bubble? Maybe. That means that Bitcoin could effectively continue down and come at least and clear the liquidity here. Maybe. That could be a possibility. But would I say that now's a good time to buy Bitcoin? It's only good if you are prepared to absorb the potential impact that the Japanese yen increase on the interest rate has. The humming and ahhing of the Federal Reserve with regards to their interest rate cuts or not. When are you going to give us the QE? And then, of course, we got to put in the idea of the tariffs. Are there going to be any sanctions put out because no one likes what they're doing? And then, of course, the unwind of the carry. I mentioned that already. That's it. So if you're going to buy Bitcoin, wait for the, oh yeah, that's it. The accumulation of the NASDAQ. When you start seeing money coming in, that's when you start buying. Pish. VIX is at 30 now. Huh? Why is the VIX at 30 now? Surely, listen, do you know what? Something is wrong with my trading view. I don't know if anyone else is experiencing it, but the NASDAQ is not down 5% for the day. That's not true at all. You know, it's quickly refresh that. Yeah, NASDAQ is not. Oh, it seems like it is. Okay. Doesn't make sense. Yeah, it has taken a little bit of a shoe bag and it's recovering some very interesting wicks. What a day for the NASDAQ. Any questions? We are closer to the bottom than the top, more than likely. So it's already at 30. So why is that not coming into play? Hold on. 52 up there for that. The VVIX? No. VIX. Why is that VIX? Volatility. CVOE. Okay. Yeah, we ain't done yet. We ain't done. That's now starting to get to 30. Then fear is getting engaged. We want it to go back up. Yeah, it needs to go up a bit more. I wouldn't buy now, but if you do buy now, okay, just take into consideration this can still continue up only because we've still got events that investors need to hedge themselves into. Okay, that is crazy. You're gonna buy. Listen, pull that historic paper out of the S&P, and you'll see the greatest depression incoming. Do you want the chart? Chat, do you want the chart? He meant 50, but he's Greek. I did mean 50, yeah. Do you want the chart, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, Bitcoin will follow NASDAQ. All right, let's get the chart. Okay. Okay. This chart right here. Can you see it? Yeah, we good. All right. Here we go. Oh, for God's sake. Of all things. Okay. This chart right here was awarded to me by Investors Business Daily. Okay. So it goes from the 1900s and it gives me the stock market for that period of time. All right. And it's got you can't see shit on this, but I'm just going to read it out to you. So I highlighted this not so long ago, right? But just before the 1929 Wall Street crash, 30 countries submitted a protest to the US for the tariffs. Well, we've already got that happening now. So we know history repeats itself. Before that point in time, the NASDAQ, well, not the NASDAQ, but the Standard & Poor's and the Dow, they were up quite aggressively. Okay, well, no. No, it's just the Dow. Just the Dow Jones then. Yeah. Because the S&P started... No, yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's got... Okay, yeah. So back here, man. Yeah, so S&P and Dow. Right? NASDAQ started... When did NASDAQ start? NASDAQ started here. Yeah, in 1970. Anyways, right? So the gentleman says that we're going into a depression, right? Okay. So up here, top right, there was your subprime mortgage crisis. What was going on before that? Well, interest rates were at 5%. Unemployment rate was at 6.5. It's now 4.1. Housing bubble bursts. Crude oil price tops $50 a barrel. It tops $50 a barrel. Okay. Then you get the subprime mortgage crisis. All right. And then you get a bailout with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Lehman Brothers collapse. Bear Stearns rescues AIG bailout. The Senate passes $700 billion financial rescue package. Okay. And of course, Lehman Brothers files for the largest bankruptcy in history. Now, are we hearing any of that sort of thing happening right now? No, we're not. Why? Because it's more of a currency crash, if I'm honest with you. It's all to do with debt. I mean, that was to do with debt. But they're on a fine line right now because of its currency. What was Trump talking about? What was Trump banging on about yesterday, other than the fact that he was just talking happy and what have you? He was talking about manipulation of currencies, mad manipulation. And that's going to push the markets. It might come to that point. Loads of money's going into AI and everyone's sidetracking it. But when you really think about it, dollar is absolutely smacked. It's pointless. There's no weight to it. If they were back to the gold standard, maybe. But they're not. In the US, what? You think the US is going to pay back any debt that it holds? And it's in dollars. Nah. I don't need to pay back that debt. You're going to try and get me to pay you back with a currency that I make? That's like trying to tax a king. Why would a king tax himself? I don't know. That makes sense. Anyways, Bitcoin to Uranus. Actually, speaking, Moon and Uranus distance, all right? So someone shared this, okay? And when I say that you're all looking for the moon and you'll end up with Uranus, it's actually not a bad thing. Uranus is higher than the moon. So I've got to take back the idea of Uranus, even though it sounds like a funny thing to say. Scientifically speaking, it actually pays us to be Uranus. Some of the shit I come out with. Wow. Do you consider yourself a gypsy? Yeah. Tino, according to some analysts, we still haven't had a bull market for Bitcoin. What do you think? Every moon boy thinks that. They all think that. Because when an analyst gives you a price projection of 455,000 or 13 million or any price point that is so despicably far, and what they're trying to do, just really feed into the idea that there's a supply, all right? That there is a supply in Bitcoin and you just got to keep on buying it, keep on buying it. There's two people buying the Bitcoin, all right? That's Michael Saylor and these dudes in the ETF, okay? Let's just say BlackRock, all right? Problem is they buy it, they sell it, they buy it, they sell it. But there's underlying strategies behind buying the ETF. They're shorting Bitcoin left, right, and center. That's why this is going up and Bitcoin's price is going down. They're earning off that play. That's what I think's going on. Because all of you have looked at this and said, hold on, the ETF's going up. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Whilst you're holding on to Bitcoin and it's bleeding in value, the dudes that are making you feel like you need to hold it are shorting it. There's no obligation to say they can't. So that's it. Tina, stop denying your love for XRP. Tina, which VIX should we monitor? The Capital.com or the S&P 500? The Chicago board. That one. That's the one you want. That is the one I'm going to mark. Yeah, pay attention to that majorly. Yeah. Anything else? Could MicroStrategy get liquidity at lower prices? MicroStrategy, look, I don't think they won't get forced to liquidation, margin call or anything like that. Do they have any money behind them? Don't think so. Their statistics of the company says so. Here we go. MicroStrategy. Come on. Market cap of 72. That was at 80 this morning. So they have effectively lost quite a bit of market cap. All right. But it's now trading lower. Volumes coming in. 39% debt. Funds hold 24% of the stock. It's increased from 930 to 1,224. Their earnings, absolutely dog shit. This company doesn't earn money. It doesn't earn money. It holds unrealized yield in Bitcoin. There's no point in having it unrealized. What are you going to do with it? Nothing. What, borrow against it? Well, you can borrow against it. That's cool because that's the practice. But where are you making your money from? That's the thing. I'm not seeing them making the money from a company's point of view. If I said to you this company had an earnings of minus 671% and sales of minus 3%, you say, shut up, man, don't give me that stupid penny stock. And then I turn around to you and say it's actually priced at $282 a share. You'll be like, what? And that's the reason why people play into it. Because it's like, it's the dark horse. It's, you know, it's the horn in the bush, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, why is Bitcoin going up while NASDAQ continues to go down? Bitcoin can do that, all right? They're just filling orders back and up and down. Tomorrow will give us the truth about the whole market. But I've given you a bit of information that you can work with, okay? Even if Bitcoin were to shoot back up and recover that red vector candle at 86,000, fundamentally, we need to see a clear structure break. But macroeconomically speaking, it's not making sense to pick up Bitcoin until the rest of the macros come into play. Are we in quantitative easing just yet? No, because the Fed's reluctant on cutting the rates. Once we start getting the interest rate cuts, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Do whatever you want. Buy as much of it as you want. All right. But macroeconomically speaking, fundamentally, we're not there just yet. And if you think it only takes one candle to send Bitcoin to the moon, well, we've established that there was many of those one candles and they ended up coming back down again. The only thing that could actually send Bitcoin up is when we start to hear about the US government buying Bitcoin. They need to buy it. And once they start buying it, that's going to just send the trajectory of Bitcoin to the upside. Till then, you're just waiting for another, what is it? The 8th of February. What happened then? Tesla brought Bitcoin. You're waiting for another move like that. That will start the move to the upside, in my opinion. Yo, Daniel, whoever, Crypto Coin Cap TR, mad love to you, my bro. Thank you very much for that. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's live. I will tune into you all tomorrow morning when we find out how messed up the non-farm payrolls data is. You want more information on the hybrid? Check out the description of this live stream. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about Uranus. No, it's not. I'm joking. Later.